Stop using presets. I did get it right.
Good for you.
She left the room. Welcome to the train wreck, everybody.
So I feel like I understand what you're going for with this from a creative standpoint.
No, it's not even creative.
Okay, then I
it's a highly technical standpoint. So you take photographers, you shoot raw, right?
Yes.
And so you pull those into
Lightroom.
Does Lightroom have presets?
Sure.
What kind of presets does Lightroom have?
So Lightroom has presets for individual tools.
Like what tools? Oh.
Right. Like, so if you want to use the spot removal tool, that tool has a whole bunch of presets. If you want to use there's one specific tool that.
Right. So once you're using the tool, you use the presets.
Like the spot brush tool has a preset for teeth whitening and a preset for softening skin.
Okay.
And it's because the way most photo manipulation software works is it's using these very mathematical equation-based things to cause very technical effects to happen,
right?
Which really don't correlate in the human mind to what you can use it for. In other words, Lightroom gives you this thing worth of 12 different scrubbers you can pull back and forth. And each one of those scrubbers affects your brush. And so there's some combination of them that will do just about anything you want, but it's really, really hard to understand what settings do what if you just dive into it blind. So the presets, like in other words, if you had no idea how any of the tools worked and someone said, make it do teeth whitening, you would spend hours testing each one until you finally started to understand the combination that would get you teeth whitening.
Sure.
Or you can click the preset for teeth whitening and all the scrubbers instantly snap to the settings that give you that. And now you start to understand from studying what the preset does, how all the controls work.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll give you that the presets are good for educational purposes, but that's about it. Right? Like when you're on an audio side of it, I am a firm believer in start from scratch, understand every parameter. Now, if there's a preset that gets you close because like you're gonna have to move 15 knobs and you won't have to move them as far, okay, right? But don't kid yourself, right? Know how to use it from scratch. Know how to get a good sound from scratch, and then choose to use presets. That's my deep thought on this. If you're for example, when you're using Ozone, you're going to destroy your audio just using an Ozone preset. Same with Lander. That's the problem with this Lander service that they're offering. $5, it'll throw your thing through an automated mastering thing, which is really just a lot of compression.
So I think I totally agree with you from like the artistic standpoint. I feel you there. One other different use of presets that I do think is valuable, though, is achieving consistency from a purely technical level. Like, for example, I want my
you
podcast.
Make your own preset?
Exactly. And so to me, that's what I was leading to is I think with my podcast, I want it to sound the same every time. So I want to use the same mic. I want to use the same inputs. I want to use the same export settings.
Right.
And so the first time through, I want to be artistic and I want to play and I want to experiment until I find the balance that feels right. And then once I've got that, I want to lock it into a preset so that I know it will sound the same every time from there on out.
Well, the problem is that you record them over different times. And audio at that volume is pretty delicate, right? So today you would record at this volume, tomorrow you might record at this volume, and the day after you might record at this volume. If you have a preset, you're just going to go click and blindly ignore the fact that this one's louder than that one. And by using the preset, you're actually hurting yourself. Instead, you should just optimize it to sound good every time, and then that good, because of your taste, will have that signature, right? And plus I kind of threw a microphone at you and went, here's record, right? Like, we've never sat down and done the shootouts of the microphones, because I know the character of them, and I also know that generally they're going to sound good, right? this one sounds different than that one, sounds different than that one. Kinda. But
I'm sure it's a fairly nuanced difference.
it's a very nuanced difference where you're post-processing though. I can make this one generally sound like that one, generally sound like that one in post. So if I rely on a preset, it's going to do a certain thing to the certain microphone every time. But if the performance changes, and every performance is unique, you don't want to go for finalization without really optimizing each parameter. With you, I take it I've got a preset that I throw on it, and it generally makes it loud without clipping, and then I go, yeah, give it back to me and I'll improve it more if you need it. But I don't hand you a final. We did that. We mixed them a couple of times, and now they just generally sound the same. Recording in the same room.
Right. So it's probably all the physical factors, but I feel like I feel like it is important to be conscious of those aspects of your setup and to remember them and think of them as a sort of preset.
Right.
And whether you use it or not, then it becomes an artistic choice.
Well, and I think I've been using different stuff with you so that next time you come in, you can kind of know generally which microphone you want to use. And this microphone dictates that we use the Dayking microphone pre, which for the gearheads out there, they just all started screaming at their screens. Sorry, guys. I love that preamp. I love it. But it was spendy. I did a project and I had a day job. So instead of spending that money on rent or food, I bought a preamp to do that project. Right? It was basically, I will do your project if you buy me this thing I want. And that's generally for the whole, guys with day jobs thing. Once your rig is at a certain point, you no longer need guys with you no longer need more stuff. So go make music and spend the money on helping bands actually sell copies and go make your dent in the universe. But the stop using presets, and I would say rethink your business model. I think in many ways, a lot of guys with studios, they all take on the same business model, which is like using a preset. It is the thoroughly uncreative. It's the least creative way to go about it. And when you're an entrepreneur, it's all about being creative. You got to stand out. You got to find your niche. Well, if your niche is the exact same niche as the other guy, right, where I put microphones up and I charge by the hour to record, then you're just competing on other factors, and most of which will be out of your control. Mm-hmm. There will always be deeper pockets than you in every industry. So by carving out a label, working with your friends, and then you all help each other sell records, you're going to wind up making some money in which to reinvest in the gear like I have over the years. And you'll also have a blast, and you'll be building an actual name for yourself, not just trying to leech off of hobbyists. Right? Go find the bands that are worth recording, record them. Share it with the world, and do it in a responsible way financially. There's no reason that any of our viewers couldn't do exactly what we're doing and not compete with us. When you're talking about independent labels, it's all about getting together, because our real enemy is the major labels. And I get frustrated with these comic book movies and these ultra mega stars, and everybody cares about whether or not I spoiled Logan, right? But it's very hard to get people to care about the next independent release. That's what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. So hit subscribe and quit using presets. Learn your parameters. And what's next?